Eddie Hearn exposes Devin Haney and Bill Haney and worries and concerns about his punch resistance. What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. I just seen a very interesting media scrum from Eddie Hearn, which we'll get into. Eddie Hearn said some pretty damaging things, and I always find his takes on Devin Haney pretty interesting because he was the first major promoter that Devin Haney signed to. First, Devin was, he's on Showtime a little bit, and he was padding his record pretty much in Mexico, fighting in Mexico. And when he turned pro with Matchroom, Eddie Hearn's company. Now, Eddie Hearn is completely blunt, and he doesn't hold back. In fact, roll the clip.
Just bizarre. Yeah. The fight I'm looking forward to in that division is Devin against Brian Norman. I think that's a really good fight. I mean, that's
on the 22nd, correct? November. How do you think that fight goes?
I think Devin's either going to win really easily or he's going to get knocked out. The thing is Devin and Bill particularly are concerned about getting hit, right? Which is a really bad situation when you're fighting, especially when you're fighting someone who's quite a sharp puncher. I think Devin up at 47 is going to suit him physically actually really well. When we talk about boots at 47 going up to 60, that was the same. When Devin was at 35, it was just, then he's at 40. I think at 47 physically he's going to feel really good. How good's Brian Norman? That's.
I mean, do you think that was a mentality for one fight, or do you think that's really a long-standing mentality now?
Long-standing. Because he's Bill's son, and Bill don't want him to get hit, and they're concerned about his punch resistance. That's the truth. And I don't think if you're concerned about your punch resistance, I think it's a dangerous game. So Devin will get on his bike against Brian Norman, and he will try and outbox him. I don't think he'll run like he did against Ramirez, because I think he needed that fight. It was rough against Ryan Garcia. Do you know what I mean? He needed to overcome the demons. But that when Ramirez stepped in and let his hands go, you could see Devin, and you knew it. And you know what everyone's thinking? Wow, Brian's hopefully a little bit more balls to the floor than Ramirez, who just kind of went through the motions a little bit. Tried to win, but but how good's Brian Norman? I mean, because Devin's good.
I think Devin beats it.
Yeah, probably wins on points.
So at the end, he said Devin Haney probably wins on points, but it was also the journalists who chimed in with their own personal opinion. See, for me, I've been in boxing media for many, many years, pioneering this game. For me, I don't like when the journalists butt in with their own personal opinion. Like, if you're interviewing somebody, then you are soliciting their opinion. You want their stances on, how it's going down and that kind of thing. So when you start saying, oh, I think Devin wins, or I think this and that, I think that's more reserved for not media scrums and interviews. If you want to give your personal opinion, do like I'm doing and, do a YouTube video or a podcast where you give your own personal takes. I feel like it's called leading the witness, right? Where the cops or the detectives, they want the witness to say whatever they want them to say or confess to the crime so they can wrap it up. And then they start leading the witness and saying persuasive things. So you went there to the party on January 25th. You know what I mean? And instead of just letting the person talk and tell their story. So just a little ego rant. Listen, I truly think Devin Haney messed up when he took shots at Eddie Hearn, right? Over Anthony Joshua, Daniel Dubois tickets. He basically, I've already made videos when it happened in real time. Basically, he fronted on and called out Eddie Hearn, said he's a fake snake. He's the fakest person I know. He won't give me tickets. I flew all the way out here, blah, blah, blah. And Eddie Hearn was like, you are one ungrateful. I'm a businessman. I have a job. And, you know, it's not my job to like look after your comping you tickets, basically. Again, for more on that story, check my old videos or research it. But after that point, Eddie Hearn has done several interviews, one with Andre Ward and just other interviews. And he's been cutthroat when it comes to Devin Haney. He has been very candid. He's been unapologetic. And it's very interesting because he's kind of exposing Devin Haney's flaws. He just told you, Devin and Bill particularly, they are worried about Devin's punch resistance after the Ryan Garcia fight. They are worried about Devin getting hit, and you've seen glimpses of that in the Ramirez fight. And one of the reporters said something to the effect of, do you think, you know, this was just like maybe the Ramirez fight isolated? And Eddie Hearn confidently says, no, I don't. I think this is where they're at right now. So very interesting. I told you from the beginning, I didn't even think the fight was going to happen with Brian Norman. But Turkey, money talks, they put up the bread. I don't think Devin had really any other options, you know, because they were talking, if he didn't do business with Turkey at a point in time, they were talking about Devin Haney fighting on BLK Prime. And I feel like Bill and Devin cared too much about the image for that to happen. I don't think they would enjoy fighting on BLK Prime because people were already starting to roast them and kind of make fun. So they end up having to deal with the Saudis. And with that, the Saudis and Turkey particularly, he plays, he's like, if I'm putting up the bread, you're going to fight how I want you to fight, and you're going to fight the type of fights and the type of opponents that we want you to fight. He's putting up the bread. It is what it is. Just like Canelo. Canelo said he didn't want to fight Terrence Crawford, but you want this paycheck, then you fight Terrence Crawford. And Canelo is at least like a face of boxing, not Devin Haney. So if Canelo had to get the bag from the Saudis, had to fight the fight that even he didn't really want to fight. Now you see, because Terrence Crawford beat him, then you know Devin Haney don't have enough pull to kind of dictate who he's fighting for these purses. So ultimately, to get these bigger purses, they were trying to have him fight Jerron Boots Ennis, but they couldn't agree on the weight. I guess Boots' team wanted a catch weight, and then they landed on Brian Norman after T.O. and Ryan fights didn't pan out. Ryan lost to Rolly. So very interesting things. Eddie Hearn's not saying anything I disagree with here, and I've told you that. The bottom line is the Ryan Garcia, it damaged Devin, mostly psychologically, but also physically. And I told you, when fighters go through some things like that, sometimes they have like a form of PTSD where they don't want to go through that again, that embarrassment. Devin Haney trying to hop on the ropes, and he looked like he had no energy and he was spent. So it's going to be a very dangerous fight with Brian Norman. Eddie Hearn says he's either getting knocked out or he's going to make it look easy because we don't know that much about Brian Norman. For more boxing news, subscribe to my channel and let me know what you think in the comments.